Mic on, haven't I? I also remind all present that local government decision-making affords no protection for councillors, council officers and the public for comments made during meetings that are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be slanderous. I now formally open this joint committee meeting, and I just want to, in doing so, acknowledge that stated in the terms of reference, the appointment of the chair and deputy chair are to be rotated between the two partner councils on an annual basis, and that's why Commissioner Tolley is now the deputy and I'm the chair, so she's got to behave herself now. I was so good last year, so. But anyway, welcome, absolutely welcome everybody. We've got a lot of work to get through this year. Can I just call for apologies and note that Councillor Paula Thompson is an apology with, she's actually looking after her partner in hospital as we speak. So she rang me just before to say she had hoped to be able to get here but couldn't. So no other apologies. So Stephen, would you like to move that apology? Happy to move. And seconded by Commissioner Tolley. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We have a public forum. We're up to there, aren't we? Mark, would you like to come forward for your presentation? We've got a very tight schedule this afternoon to try and get through. So we are going to be strict on the 5 minutes and allowing some question time as well. So it's a 5+5 maximum. And you have been circulated the documents from Mark, so he will take those as read. Mark, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Van Donaldson and the committee. I appreciate the time to speak today. Well, first of all, just apologies from Richard Drummond, MD of KiwiBus. He is in Australia at the moment, but he was meant to join me. Unfortunately, can't. So puts in his apologies. I would like to just table that all of the material that I have sent. Sorry for the volume of it, but there are 4 projects, and what I've done is I've stapled them all together so that you can refer to them quite easily. But if we could take them as read, and then I will get to a quick summary and then a request for consideration for a particular item. So is it possible to put up the first slide, please? So if we have a look at this, this is the latest piece of work that I'm proposing for the city, is the Skydeck, an 82-seater open deck bus, a sort of combination of bus, ferry and ship, something with a bit of curvature and futuristic looking. The opportunity to have an open deck on the top in timber and to give it a slightly fun and frivolous feel to it, and show people that we're on the map. We're getting 130 ships next year, and currently we go through a flex structure, very temporary sort of a situation on the wharf there. So imagine a blue one, or a green one, or an orange one, something a little bit different from the Uza buses and Bethlehem coach lines, something that would connect the Mount with the city. So not to go off to Rotorua or to Hobbiton, but to connect with our city, go to the Tauranga Art Gallery, our future CBD, which is going to be vastly enhanced over the next few years, and really make it about connection between the Mount and the city. Okay, this bus can be constructed here in Tauranga West at KiwiBus. I have put the design together and worked with Richard Drummond, so it's a collaboration, and he's put the specs to it. It follows all the uses similar specs, a very light chassis, all the electrics that are used for the Wellington double-decker buses. So we can do this in Tauranga West. You'll see under the first project there, you'll see a quote at the end of the project to see how that breaks down, and also a detailed spec, some additional drawings. So I've presented this to TBOP, Oscar Nathan and his management team, and they've received this very well. You'll see that there's a letter of support there from TBOP. There's no funding opportunities there, but through one of the senior leadership team there, Stacey Linton, she made me aware of a co-funding opportunity where government is looking for projects that tick a whole lot of boxes that this particular project does tick. Sustainability, innovation, considering rejuvenating tourism, and you'll see there's 20 odd items that this actually ticks off. So if you could have a look towards, it's the third page in, just under action request. If you could have a look at that, just highlighted in orange. If you could have a look at that, there are numbers in that there. So if you could just if you could read that and see if we could perhaps set up a follow-up meeting to see if there's any opportunities there. I don't really want to get into too much detail there, but you can take that to read. So the other thing is, if we could move on to the next slide, please. Next one. These are just detailed drawings for the double-decker, the green and orange. If you could continue, please. Thank you. And then you'll be familiar with this work. I just wanted to give you an update on this. This is the Wakahiko Te Papa, the 23-seat electric vehicle, largely open plan, big wide doors. I presented this last year, 22nd of June, and I've referred to the resolution that was made there for Tauranga Public Transport Joint Committee. Request that staff consider the submission presentation from Mark Wassing and Richard Drum to run a bus trial of a different type of bus, bay bullet electric shuttle bus, and build bus shelters, smart solar, prefabricated, relocated bus shelters. So I'd like to come back and give updates on this. This has been fully articulated into drawings and costed. You'll see that. We provided a cost there through Kiwi Bus again, light chassis, all the specification for it, a driver, so it's not autonomous, and that can be built here in Tauranga West. You'll see that we've put in there for 10 craft because we think that one craft will probably not, it will fail. We think that if we want to have transformational effect, we'll have to go with probably 10 vehicles or 5 vehicles to realise that. If you could move on, please. I'm almost complete. Just detailed drawings for you to have a look at. Keep going, please. And in the interim, just one back, please, the double-decker. Once we've grown the Cameron Road additions, I think, are going to be fantastic. I'm working on a couple of MDRS intensification projects. That corridor is going to be future-proof for 20, 30, 50 years. So into the future, I can see this is just a concept to show you that the double-decker could be used like the North Shore rapid bus route that eventually will have big patronage, and this could go between the city and Greerton and the crossing. So if you could move that on, please. That's also fully articulated and costed for you. Next, please. This is very similar to the spec from Wellington buses. And then just a quick update on the bus shelters. You'll see there that I've got an engineer involved who's been working with our fabricator. We can make the $23,000 cap budget requirement. Brennan, I've circulated some additional information to you. So we can do this in aluminium. It's light, it's durable, it is bulletproof. It can take 3 people on the roof jumping up and down on it. And we can build this to your budget, as I said, with the durability and have the certification from BCD engineers and our fabricator. So just wanted to give you an update on that project. And that's basically it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. We're well aware of your passion and fantastic designs. I will open it up. We can't make decisions on a public forum, but we can request staff do something if we want to. Questions of Mark? Any questions? Commissioner Tolley.
Look, thanks, Mark. You put such a lot of passion and desire for the city into your work, and really appreciate it. And we are so lucky to have that Kiwi Bus Company sited here, and it does create opportunities for us. So thank you for your presentation. I don't think we've forgotten, and I just looked at Brendan when you were talking about your bus shelters, because we do want to continue the discussion about bus shelters. So I'm pleased to hear that you've got an engineer on site, and I think we'll take that up quietly, and maybe not so quietly in the near future. But thank you.
Mark, and just following on your 23-seater, I've been quite vocal with staff that as we move towards EV, originally we looked at 10 big EV buses and we decided on 5 to get us started. I believe 20-seater, 2023, whatever it is, smaller buses. And I think we need 20 of them, not 10, personally. And we will be working through that process with staff and how we do that and whatever. I thank you for your presentation. My gut feeling is the double-decker buses is probably more about private enterprise than a public service like ours. But I think you need to be talking to the likes of the suppliers of the locally, for the cruise ships, because it'd be ideal, except for this year, of course, when it rained both days during the middle of summer. With that, thank you, Mark. You haven't fallen on deaf ears. We do listen, and we do appreciate your passion and work. All right, so moving on then, we have items not on the agenda. There's an Arataki verbal report, Arataki meeting verbal report to be heard after item 8. Can I call for a mover and seconder? I'll move it. I'll call for a seconder to put that on, accept that item that is not on the agenda. The reason we need to put it on is because of the Farm Street proposal. So you're happy to second, moved and seconded. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So that'll be after item 8. Order of business, there's no change in the order. However, item 9.5 is a decision requiring a report. That's the parking demand in the CBD. That's of note. I just call now for conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? There are none. Moving on, public excluded business to be transferred into the open. There is none. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, page 9. Would someone like to move, first of all, that they be a true and correct record? Moved by Commissioner Selwood, seconded by Commissioner Tolley. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Any items for discussion? There being none, we will. We moved and seconded. Did we pass it? Perfect. So we now move to information only report. This is item 8.1, Tauranga City and the Bay of Plenty Regional Council project update. It's on page 17 of the written agenda. Brendan.
Thank you. We'll take the report as read, but are happy to discuss specific queries. So between Ollie and I, depending whether it's TCC or Regional Council, we can answer any queries.
Are there anybody got anything to bring up? Any of that? Thank you for that update. I just wanted to note my concern with we got the briefing on the Tauranga Street potential to go to grade separated as an upgrade in that area, and I just want to make sure that we understand that if we don't do Elizabeth Street before Tauranga Street, it will be increasingly difficult to do retrofit Elizabeth Street later. We already have a bit of a problem there, but if you put traffic coming, it will clog there even more than it is now, in my view. So it's just something for staff and really for Waka Kotahi to consider.
I think the key one there is, unfortunately for us, both of those are Waka Kotahi state highways. So, I understand exactly what you're saying is the Elizabeth Street intersection's running close to capacity. So you feed more traffic into that channel and it's got nowhere to go.
And then, but if you do the other one first, the traffic's even built higher, and then you've got to spend all that time. Yeah. So anyway, that's an issue for them. Is there any?
If I may,
Yeah,
just
go on.
on that topic, I mean, you touch on actually what the fundamental problem is. I think that if we do Totara, yes, it'll mean impacts for Elizabeth. If we do Elizabeth, it'll mean impacts for Tauranga West and the roundabout down there. And the fundamental problem is this project by project orientation that we have, rather than looking at a whole strategic network and how that works. And I think we've got to lift our vision beyond the constant project focus that we have.
Sorry, she's been muted.
Okay, sorry, that was a distraction with Christine. Welcome, Christine Jones. Anyway,
So yeah, my point was we need to move to strategic thinking about the network rather than just project by project, which is inevitably just going to shift the problem down the road.
I totally agree. Brendan, is there any, as Waka Kotahi, either it could be either regional or local, the 15th Avenue down the new link into Takitimu, is that, how's the scheduling for that going?
So that link will get picked up as part of the TNL and revocation project. So when we were looking at the projects and where do we set the defined end and start points, the 15th turret picks up from effectively the Welcome Bay Road right through to Cameron Road, but the revocation of State Highway 2 will pick up from Cameron Road down the hill across the motorway. So that'll look at that connection and that link. And that business case is about due to start. I think tenders have closed and they're imminent to appointing a consultant on that process.
Yeah, because I found that quite interesting, because I was told by Wakakota, I asked them to inform me before they started that, because I've got some rat traps in the valley that I look after that are right beside the road there, and I wanted to be able to make sure they weren't going to be at risk, and they said that would be starting in November, and then of course they started the other part earlier than that and wiped out some of my other traps. But anyway, thank you for that update. Yep. Do you have anything to add from a Tauranga Regional Council perspective?
Not really. I think there's just a confirmation there's some text around the Arataki update in the project report. And any verbal update will be pretty closely aligned to those words anyway. So I'm not too sure if we need to go further, but happy to take any questions if there's any more questions around that. That's on page 24, I think it is.
So the timelines are now slipping. So I don't know whether we want to deal with it here or a separate item, but we got to a certain point, then we had the meeting with the community from the regional council. So what are the timelines looking like now for delivery of this?
In terms of so just to take a step back and talk about that particular meeting, we're able to sort of alleviate some concerns in the meeting around the immediate effects with that group. And in connecting with the project team with Tauranga City Council, project was paused, and the consultation phase for our public transport network refresh is in the latter half of this year, was the right time to really talk about the strategic picture that affects that particular project. And then that will flow into the project sort of restarting and carrying all of that information. I think was important to that community and to the project that we took the concerns in hand.
So my concerns would be the Commission's only here till July next year. This is a highly political issue and we might run out of time to get it done. Despite doing really good consultation, the community have made it very clear they don't want buses in the street. I think we run a real risk of not getting it through. Your best, in other words, I think I'm saying the best chance of getting it done is while the Commission's here.
Absolutely, point noted, and we'll have a look at that. See if we can't
Let's have a
accelerate that.
discussion.
Commissioner.
Yeah, that kind of raises an issue for me as I was reading through this report. And I think it's an excellent report because it keeps us up to date with all of the initiatives underway. But it cast my mind back to the regional public transport plan that we signed off through the regional committee late last year, which aspires to achieve a 20% mode share within a decade. And we seem to be caught in this trap of having visionary plans in the one sense and then having very incremental project by project, delay by delay kind of process. And the two are just completely disconnected. And I just wonder how we're going to move from kind of business as usual to think about how that sort of transformational change that was described in the long-term plan so that we can actually deliver something. Tauranga City Council is very focused on the Western Corridor as being our primary mechanism to enable urban intensification supported by public transport, walking and cycling. And Cameron Road is the backbone of that initiative. And you've heard me wax lyrical in the past about the opportunity for medium density intensification in Tauranga, Keenan Road, Belk, Keenan, and we're in conversations with Western Bay District Council about that potential. Early days, but that is progressing reasonably well. And we're out on consultation with Cameron Road Stage 2 now. And we're making reasonable progress, although we'd all like it to be faster on Cameron Road Stage 1. So from that point of view, some of the building blocks of that change are already happening as we speak. So I just think there's an amazing opportunity for a united approach between the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, Tauranga City Council, and Waka Kotahi for a complete focus on that corridor, which will enable us to at least make much faster progress on achieving that 20% mode share. Now, that has to be linked to the investment in State Highway 29, because the upgrade of that corridor will enable the existing State Highway 29 corridor to be the primary alternative transport mode from, let's say, the crossing to Barks Corner to Cameron Road to the city and on to the Mount. And our own City Council's investment in Te Manawataki o Te Papa is about enlivening the city centre so that it will be an attractive place to live, work and play in its own right, but also be an attractor to that whole corridor. So, Chairman, I really just want to put a pitch into, if we're really going to make a change, a substantive change, then that's going to require united action of all of the bodies around, in my view, that corridor, and to try and get more momentum, because at the moment we're sort of pushing on all fronts, but we're only making incremental progress on all fronts. And whilst we still need to continue to do that, focus and prioritisation on that Western Corridor, as I describe it, opportunity, I think is the real big one in front of us.
I would totally agree. Has staff like to make a comment? Either staff?
Just absolutely noted, and really keen to make sure we can create a reality. I think there's a good example later in the agenda. We can talk that through a little bit more, but how that actually eventuates. So, absolutely.
I think just from one of the issues we're constantly up against is there's a funding process required, and so we come up against aspiration of trying to get to an end point with a funding process that sort of has this stop-start process involved. So I absolutely agree, if we can have joint agreement between ourselves, Regional Council and Waka Kotahi as the primary funder, that'll enable us to maybe make faster progress on some of the stuff.
And noting that we are too going into an annual plan process, this will require funding. We are looking, we've signalled in our first workshop that we're looking for funding for bus stops to help, because we want to as a regional council, want to act collaboratively with you. We know that there's swim lanes, that's your business, but if we actually work together, fund together, I think we'll get combined outcomes for us all. And that's also why I have a passion for looking at 20-seater buses, because it's the psychological look. Somehow we have to break the mold of our city citizens, the community, and I think that's the only way we're going to actually see an actual game changer in the short term. So I will be going to the annual plan and the following on with the long-term plan, looking to do exactly that. And it will take a lot more and new investment, but I think I can't see us getting our mode shift without it. That's all. I think we're all on the same page, and I keep imploring our staff to keep moving, because this you say your time isn't very long, Commissioner Chair, but we're all getting older in the teeth, and we all want to see progress in this. This city needs us, and it needs it to make real progress real soon. Any further discussion on that? So do we receive that report? I'll move that we receive the report. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Commissioner Selwood. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Okay, we move on to the Arataki Community Meeting update.
I think, Chair, as we had a bit of a conversation about that earlier, and I don't think there's too much more to add than that, unless there's anyone else who would like to talk. Brendan, perhaps?
Well, yes, I do, and I wasn't quite sure whether I did it then or now. So I guess the question I have to ask is, well, there's two questions really. I thought so what's going to change? Are we not going to be taking buses down Farm Street? Because when we went to the community as TCC with the plans that had been developed between our two councils, the understanding Oliver had done a lot of work and reduced the number of buses, and we weren't talking a major interchange. We were now talking bus stops and street design and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the question I have is what's changed? And I would have thought that would have come back to the commission who put money in the budget. We've had several meetings with the community, and now I read in a report that the whole thing's been put on hold, and you tell me we're not going to be making a decision till the end of the year. And that's the first time I've heard it. So I guess I've got two questions. Who's actually funding this and managing this process, and what's changed? And is there a good likelihood that we're not going to have buses going down through there? Because the community, there's been a long history of security issues, street issues, so I guess we've had a number of meetings with concerned community, and I just don't understand what the major change is that's going to put it off till the end of the year.
I'm going to defer to Brendan and Ollie in a second. They're just having a bit of a conversation, but when I mentioned a time frame before, it wasn't the end of the year. It's at the first quarter of the next financial year. So after June is when we're looking to go out to public consultation. Yep, no, just later in this year. So certainly not the end of the year. Ollie, do you want to add anything to that, or Brendan?
Through the chair. So our intention is to review the services and just check, following consultation, that the facilities that we need in the Farm Street area align with your understanding of what's in the business case so far.
Number of bus stops required on the road.
Correct, yes.
Right, so we haven't moved away from actually Farm Street as a destination or a through stop. Is that how you describe it?
Yes, so it's purely looking at the quantum of services that would be using that road.
I think if we look purely at the facility, until we know those number of services, can confirm the number of stops and exactly what infrastructure we need, it's pretty hard to progress the business case. So once we've got that information, we can restart the business case and then take that through to completion. So that's why it's on pause, not on stop. It's just on a pause at the moment.
And the timing then, we think? That was my original question, and I misunderstood. I do apologise. The new year, I thought you meant the new calendar year.
So through the chair, we haven't got firm dates for the consultation, but we will be asking our Public Transport Committee for permission to consult with the community at the meeting next month. So we are looking to do that as soon as we possibly can.
That's consulting on what?
So our phase 2 of the Tauranga network refresh.
So I think from a council perspective, we're anticipating potentially from sort of second half of the year, we can restart the business case. So it'll move it into FY24, financial year 24, but we're not talking, it's not 18 months away. We're thinking it's probably a 3 to 6 month delay while we confirm the PT services that will use that street, and then we go back and restart the business case.
Delivery?
Depending on what it is, delivery potentially could be done in FY24 if it's more of a street infrastructure type scenario, as long as we can get the Waka-Kotahi funding. But we are involving them in this process, so they're aware of the reasons for the delay and why we're sort of delaying at the moment.
I'm just concerned it doesn't turn into a political football, so that hence my comments about trying to get it done on the journey that we've started, simply because it came to previous councils, Tauranga Council, on a number of occasions, and was kept in touch.
And I totally concur with you, Madam Chair, that we have an opportunity now as a combined to actually make hard decisions, and it will require there will be hard decisions that will need to be made, because we won't be able to satisfy everybody. But that said, that's our job, and I'm with you. The sooner we actually make them, the better. To give it time to just get it done, and then we move on to the next and find a way through.
And we have put money in the budget. We have got money in the budget for streetscaping.
So we've got sufficient funding there to do both the facility and some improvements into Farm Street itself, and beyond just where the buses are stopping.
I mean, there are some people in that area that think it's great to have the buses, but equally there are some very vociferous people that don't want them there at all. And look, you have compassion for that too. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Do we need to move receipt of this report?
No, it's just a verbal update.
As a verbal update, we don't. Okay. So then we move on to section 9.0, the public excluded section. Can I,
I'll move.
you'll move and I'll second.